Bears versus the New England Patriots next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
Yeah, she's got some nice long
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron, coming to you live on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter, everywhere, Facebook as well, with a Chicago Bears victory. Guys, we did it. We pulled the upset. Bears win 33-14. It feels so good, right? That was a great game, and we will be breaking it down, the 10 big takeaways. But guys, this is a big shock, right? We were, I think it was 8.5. We end up winning by so much. I'm so excited to be breaking this down, but make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching out there on YouTube, Twitch, like I was saying before. But I'm so excited to break this down. But before we go into it, for those that have been following, the baby has come. So for those that don't follow us out on social media, I just had a baby on Thursday. So her name is Quinn, not based off of Robert Quinn, but but yeah, so mom's doing great. Everybody's doing fine. So I'm still not going to be on social media, but still obviously going to be recording some of the shows. So we'll be breaking this down. But yeah, like I was saying, Bears 33, Patriots 14. And the big story was the Bears running attack. When you look at the stats, the Bears passing attack, a total of 100 yards rushing, and then you flip over to the passing defense. We allowed 190 passing yards and only 70 rushing yards at 3.7 yards a clip. So absolutely crazy. Absolutely great out there. That's good defense, good offense, and that's what we're going to be breaking down today. But already, Reload is in the chat saying this. I thought of you immediately, Reload, when this came up. We need a new center. Musty sucks. The good part, and I want to bring this up, Sam Mustipher was benched. It was great, right? We did not see him out there, and it was awesome to see that we had Lucas Patrick. And for like the 2 drives that Lucas Patrick was out there, Lucas Patrick looked good. And I said on the show that I was nervous about Lucas Patrick moving to center. I didn't think that it would solve all the problems, but he was out there. And when he was actually playing center, he looked pretty good. Now, does this mean he's going to be a great center and we should just dismiss it? No, but hopefully he can come back because he injured his toe. Hopefully it's minor. But when you see somebody on that cart, you kind of assume the worst. You kind of assume that his season must be over, which unfortunately means that Sam Mustipher might end up being our starting center for the rest of the year, even as painful as it is to say something like that. But guys, let's get into my 10 takeaways. Now, I kind of cheated and I had 6 offensive takeaways and 4 defensive and special teams takeaways. But let's get this show on the road, shall we? So, my first big takeaway. We talked about this beforehand, that Belichick, the GOAT, right? He always outcoaches us and he always destroys us. But it really felt like today. It felt like we outcoached Belichick. Now, it's not saying Eberflus is better than Belichick, but going into here, normally Belichick can find the weakness and exploit that weakness. And when I see here, when I'm looking at the stats, Ramondre Stevenson only, and we talked about this, they should have been able to run all over us. But instead, they were trying to pass the football on us. And really, I loved our coaching scheme. I loved our offensive coaching philosophy. Defense continues to play well. And honestly, it just felt like, why aren't the Patriots running it more? Why aren't the Patriots just saying this person just stays on Justin Fields, right? Later on, you saw a little bit more of the QB spies out there, but still, Justin Fields ran for 82 freaking rushing yards. So they really weren't trying to contain him. And that's where I thought overall, it just didn't seem like the New England Patriots went out and were as well coached as we were expecting inside of a lot of our previews. And that's where it really did look like the Bears outcoached them. And that's great to say with the new regime. We just looked like the better coached team. Now, with that being said, I want to go to my second takeaway. I love this. I don't know who else loved this out there. I'm pretty sure all of us, but Justin Fields was used as a running back. And I know Johnny PayPal in some of the previews, he's brought this up. And every time he has, I've kind of winched. I've been like, oh man, and kind of just cringed a little bit because I didn't want to see them run the football all that much with Justin Fields as that quarterback. I gotta say, it looked good. It looked really, really good out there. We saw them running the football. We saw Justin Fields playing well, and I liked it. And also watching the Manning cast. I don't know how many people watch the Manning cast versus the normal TV. Let me know. But to me, I watched a little bit of the Manning cast because I like their insight, but still, there's something about the normal announcers getting pumped, getting hyped that I do just really like. But really, they were really excited, or they being the Mannings, they really liked what they were doing with Justin Fields. It was all great stuff, awesome to see out there. And yeah, when you have 14 carries, 59 yards, 5.9 average and 82 total yards from Justin Fields, it looked great, right? The running game was great. Loved it. Absolutely great plays out there from Justin Fields, and he looked comfortable. I know our big fear of him running the football is he just going to get knocked around? Is he going to get knocked out? Is he going to get smacked? Now he took some big hits, but still he played well. I felt like he played well enough that he looked good. He looked good overall. But let's go over to my number 3 takeaway. We've already kind of talked about this a little bit. And that's the Bears actually made some good offensive line changes. We talked about this on the preview. I did not expect them to make offensive line changes. And that's actually why I'm so excited. I feel my all 3 takeaways are things that I did not expect them to do, but they did. Normally people, it's just coach speak, right? Oh, we're going to find the best 5 players. We're going to make sure that we fix the whys, right? It's just coach speak. But the Bears actually came out and said, Schofield, you're going to be the left guard, and Patrick, you're going to be center. Now, is that because he's healthy now? Or is it because they said, listen, we're fed up and we need this guy to be out there at the center position because Mustipher isn't it? And more importantly, Lucas Patrick wasn't it at the left guard. I love making fun of Mustipher as much as everyone else, but Lucas Patrick has been terrible at guard. But Lucas Patrick looked good at that center spot. So I really liked him out there, looked good until Patrick went down. Now, even though that Patrick went down, it was nice to see Michael Schofield out there. Didn't think that Michael Schofield was I don't think Michael Schofield was amazing in the running game. Now, yet again, I haven't he didn't look great in that, but still there was you felt a lot more comfortable at this left guard, this left side of the line that we haven't had since Cody Whitehair got injured, right? We haven't had a solid pass blocking offensive line since then. So it was nice to see him out there. I hope he stays there, and I hope that Patrick can be back. It's probably doubtful that he will be back. He's probably going to be placed on IR. But going back to what Reload said at the very top, you think we can sign a center? I forgot who's out there. I can maybe try and pull it up, but there's not a lot of great free agents out there. There's always JC Treader that everybody talks about. I don't think Treader would want to play for us because we're not necessarily a contender. He's a little bit older. Maybe he does if nobody's giving him anything. Maybe, but I forgot there's one other guy that's actually halfway decent. I'm going to try and pull this up as I'm talking, but he's but there's not a lot of great talent out there from a center perspective in free agency. So I'll pull it up while I'm doing that. But let's go over to my next take, right? Take number 4. is Larry Borom struggled, right? He did. He Larry Borom has been a good pass blocker. He's been one of our best pass blockers on this offensive line, and honestly, he did not look good. And I know that, and let me just pull this up. I think it was 2.5 sacks at the end of the day for Matthew Judon. I believe one of those sacks was just because Fields ran out of bounds. Since he was the closest person, it was technically a sack. But really, he was able to terrorize Justin Fields a lot, and overall, didn't play that well. Um, but I do feel like the rest of the line, he had a bad performance, but I felt like the rest of the line played very well, especially Braxton Jones. You saw on the screen that they threw to, and then you see him out there, he's pass blocking, he's hitting people down the field. You love to see it, right? Absolutely great. Love to see it. And just played very, very well. But let me also just do a little filter on my on Spot Rec. I wish I could kind of show my screen right now. I'm just gonna see who is actually available. Let's see this right now at that center position. So I want to just make sure I have this up. So here's the people that I was thinking about. So JC Treader, obviously, at that center position is available. Then the next one that I was thinking about was Matt Paradis. He was the former center for the Carolina Panthers. He's been a solid vet. He's 32 years old and should be able to come in and give you some good play. So I think that's somebody to be on the lookout for is that Matt Paradis because he's been good. He's been solid. But besides that, you have Austin Ryder, maybe another person that they look out to Kansas City connection. And I'm looking at Spot Rack, so maybe some of these aren't up to date. It's always difficult because of all the practice squads and stuff like that. But yet again, two veteran centers that you could potentially bring in, be an upgrade over a Sam Mustipher, especially if, let's say, Patrick is going to be on IR, right? And let's say Leatherwood's going to come back, right? If Leatherwood is back, to this point, Leatherwood does not seem like he's going to be that left guard player. We talked about this in the preview. It doesn't seem like he's going to be that guy. So that's why I feel overall you probably need to bring someone in unless they feel confident with Mustipher, which I don't feel they're fully confident. So it's up to them ultimately. Will you do that? What would I do? I would have brought in a center. I would have brought in a center a long time ago. Um, but yeah, so lots and lots of other options. Jeff in the comments says, I think it's Brett Jones from Denver that's out there as well. Yeah, lots of different players and some vets that are still potentially available out there in free agency this year. But let's get back on track with some of these takeaways. So Larry Borom, like I said, struggled a little bit, but let's start highlighting some of the good players that we like seeing out there. So to me, there was three people on this offensive side of the football that really stood out, and that's Equinemius St. Brown, Khalil Herbert, and Trayvon Wesco. Now, we've broken down the offensive line. Braxton Jones played well. Some of those guys played good out there. But EQ St. Brown, he blocked well. He got some catches as well. Just a very good, solid performance for him. And I'm just going to pull up the stats right now. EQ St. Brown, 4 receptions, 48 yards, 7 targets. So was targeted heavily, but he looked to be more that second string wide receiver. Played well, blocked well, was a very smart player. That's what you want to see out of this number 2. Now, is it ideal that he is your number 2? No, but still a good football. And Khalil Herbert, dare I say he's played better than David Montgomery? One of my friends who's a Lions fan texted me and said, Khalil Herbert's the better running back. Just flat out said it. Now, David Montgomery's good. David Montgomery is feisty. David Montgomery pushes people. And also, David Montgomery is game planned for. That's a key thing as well. David Montgomery has a game plan. Not a lot of people are game planning for Khalil Herbert. But when you look at the carries, 15 to 12, Khalil Herbert with 12 carries, 62 yards for 5.2. And David Montgomery, 15 carries for 62 yards, 4.1. Khalil Herbert plays like a Nick Chubb. Runs straight, runs powerful, difficult to bring down. That's where I really like him out there. And do I think he should be the starter? No. But when we go into the whole, should you re-sign David Montgomery? Heck no. Because when you have a player like this, why should you be paying a premium when you have somebody that is giving you very good levels of production? But Khalil Herbert looked very good, good on the screen, good on running the football, very good play. And also Trayvon Wesco didn't make any catches, but you saw him in the blocking game make a lot of differences. There was also one play where they were running a bootleg. And what I loved with the game plan was whenever they run a bootleg, you saw this sometimes, a tight end was back to block. And on one of them, they had a tight end that was blocking it. Wesco was blocking Judon. And here's Judon, who's been throwing around our offensive lineman, but Trayvon Wesco's out there on an island basically with this guy and is able to stick on him. So Wesco played very well. Makes you realize why the Bears wanted to bring him in. He's a good blocker, great blocker at that tight end position. So I really enjoyed it. And those three were kind of some key players that I just wanted to give some shout outs to. Now, takeaway number 6 on the list for those counting back at home. Fields, even though it's a good day, great win for the Bears. No matter if it's a win, no matter if it's a loss, gonna give you real coverage out here, right? Fields still there's some concerns with Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields still there's some plays out there that I forgot what play it was specifically, but I remember he was looking to the right-hand side and he threw it deep. I think it might have been to Mooney. For one, he threw it on a dart, right? Didn't get a lot of air underneath it like he should have. But also, right below that, you had Cole Kmet make a move in between zone coverage. You could have seen that and you could have thrown that. There's a lot of things that we can kind of pick apart with Justin Fields' game, but still what Fields shows you is he shows you the next level stuff, right? He shows you that on 3rd and 14, this guy can break tackles, break sacks, and give you the yards. And now that this offense was a run heavy, like this guy's going to be a running weapon rather than just someone who's going to be scrambling for his life and try to get yards. He's that big weapon. He's that big playmaker. But the big question still is there. He needs to speed up a little bit with his decision making. He also needs to just be a little bit more comfortable when throwing the football. During the Manning cast, they had a very good point where they said one of them where I believe he took a sack. They said it's a quick slant, and if you don't have that quick slant, you throw it to the running back because it's slant right in front of you, a little bit to the left, and a running back right in front of you. You're supposed to look. He didn't like it. He even kind of pumped like, nope, not going to throw it. They said when you do that, you go to the running back and you get rid of it, right? Quick reads, and that's what you're supposed to do. That's not what he did, and he ended up taking a sack. Yes, it was definitely under 3 seconds, but still, it's those small little building blocks. And still be great game for him and played well, right? Running the football, throwing the football, but still we want to see a little bit more because overall 13 of 21, missed some bad plays. You can blame some on the rain, but still 13 of 21, not great. 179 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Interception swatted at the line, and terrible bounce goes right to a player. So, Justin Fields, great game, but still stuff for him to at least work on. Now, I don't have really any hot takes, right? I think that the biggest hot takes just coming off of my head overall from this game, you could easily say, well, look, the Bears made the right decision and Mac Jones is a bust, right? We could be making those cases. People could be saying that, right? Mac Jones is washed. It's just Baile Zappe. But still, Mac Jones, we knew this. Mac Jones just ran a good scheme. Mac Jones rid of the football very quickly. He's the Kirk Cousins that was coming out of the draft. And Baile Zappe is able to play a similar scheme and play well in it. Justin Fields needs to be able to play in this scheme. And I felt today it was a very well coached game for the Chicago Bears. And overall, let's be excited about this. This is what you have with Justin Fields, but still, needs to get a little bit better. Needs to really kind of hunker down with some of this offense, but it's a lot of good stuff that we saw. Offensive line played really well, and the wide receivers played well. Just an overall good offensive performance from this offensive side of the football. But let's flip over to this defensive side of the football for the Chicago Bears. Now, of course, as I'm going through this, let me see if I can actually shift it over to slide number 2. Having some technical difficulties with my sharing. Actually, I can't show it. I don't know why. I got a new streaming tool. It doesn't allow me to share the last screen. um, so I'll just read it off to everybody who's watching out there. If you're listening, it's all the exact same, right? So, what I'm going to talk about is my seventh takeaway. So, my seventh takeaway for the game is let me just pull it up. The Bears actually stopped the run. That was big, right? The Bears, we did not expect us to be able to stop the run. That was the big fear that we had also going into this game is that the Bears have not been able to stop the run. Ramondre Stevenson is a hard-nosed runner. But the Bears said, listen, we're going to stop you. We're going to sell out. But even then, actually, they didn't even really like load the box. They played a lot of cover two, a lot of two, layer shells, but they were still able to stop the run, which was great to see. Ramondre Stevenson, 11 carries, 39 rushing yards for an average of 3.5. Biggest carry was 7 yards. They did a very good job. And we jokingly said this in the pre-show that the Bears do well against big running backs that run tough. For some reason, like A.J. Dillon, they like running backs like that. Even Brian Robinson, they did well with. But this is another week. The defense is doing better at stopping the run. Love to see it, right? We were terrible, but we said we have to regress back to the mean. Regression to the mean can be positive or negative. For the Bears, we got better and better and better. And now this was a very good run defense. We averaged total 3.7 yards on the run from a defensive perspective. That's very good, especially because Mac Jones carried the football 3 times for 24 rushing yards. Now, if we're going to be talking about the defense, the big question is, should the Bears have actually should the Patriots have actually benched Mac Jones? What do you guys think? Because to me, I felt like, yes, you can go with Baile Zappe, but really just keep Mac Jones out there. Just keep him out there for a game, reassess it later on. But I don't agree with what they did. But hey, I'm not a Patriots fan. So whatever my take is on it probably doesn't carry a lot of weight to it. But yeah, we stopped the run. Very good play out there. And also, too, I felt that Roquan Smith had a good game. There was a couple plays out there. I'm very critical of Roquan. Roquan had a good game. The interception wasn't on him, and I thought that his celebration with the whole paychecks in the end zone is kind of awkward because it was really just him and one other guy doing it. um, but I felt he had a great game. 12 tackles, 8 solo. So very good play from Roquan Smith. Was able to kind of get his head in and make some big time see it. Great job by Roquan Smith overall, especially because Nicholas Morrow, only 5 tackles, Jaquan Brisker, only 7. Roquan played, in my opinion, his best game of the year. So that's why, if he plays like that, yes, he deserves the money. But he has to do this day after day after day. That's what all pro linebackers do. But let's also talk going over to my next point, the backup defensive ends seem to get a better pass rush than the starters, right? So that's where and thank you, Reload. um, but yeah, so the overall though, I felt like the backup defensive ends have a better pass rush, right? Because when Al-Qadim Muhammad's out there, he's not really pushing the pile. He's not breaking tackle. He's not breaking past his blocker. But I will say this. Speaking of my baby Reload, Robert Quinn. Quinn out there had his best game. Unfortunately, it wasn't great, but it was his best game. He was able to make a couple QB pressures, and we talked about this too. Trent Brown, big guy, fat guy. Robert Quinn, all take advantage of that. Didn't completely take advantage of it, but was able to put some heat on that quarterback. So I thought overall, pretty good game from him, but you want to see a little bit more. But really, Dominique Robinson out there, Travis Gibson out there still seem to be the better options when rushing the passer, especially when Al-Qadim Muhammad's out there. Defensive tackles also provided a little bit of a push, which is kind of impressive because this is the best interior line that we've faced by far. Still not great by any means, but I will say too, Armon Watts is showing to be not just a good three technique or not just a three technique. He was able to play a little bit more at that one technique, kind of taking on the guard and center, and was able to make a couple good run stuffs. So, still, my number, like I said, number 8 takeaway is just those backup defensive edges. Not, I think that they're a little bit better than the starters when it comes to the pass, mainly because of Al-Qadim Muhammad. But let's go over to take guys. This defensive backfield is looking great. Looking great. We said this before up in the comments. I think it was Reload that said this. Kyler Gordon getting the interception, one hand. Jaquan Brisker, one hand. 2 interceptions for the rookies. Let's freaking go. Rookies looking good. Brisker looking good. Gordon backs up a good game last week with another good game. Yet again, not watching the all 22, but still, on first glance, looked good, looked solid out there. No longer somebody you can just completely pick on. We talked about this. Cornerback is very difficult to be good at right away if you are a defensive back. Kyler Gordon looked good. Kyler Gordon can make tackles. He's got the explosiveness. The biggest question was his coverage ability. He's learning, he's getting better, and he's getting better. That's what you want to see. Games. And right now, when you look at this defensive backfield, you go, are we set? Right? Are we set for next year? Are we set for the year after that? Kindle Vildor continues to play well. Jalen Johnson continues to play well. Yes, Devontae Parker made a really good catch on him. That's one of those plays where you just tip your hat, you go, good play, man, and you move on. There was also the other touchdown from Jacoby Myers, where it was just really good play call from the offensive side and also from the defensive side of the ball. They didn't have someone there. Miscommunication, right? Don't blame a specific individual because I didn't call the defensive play. I don't know what people were supposed to be doing there. It looked like a mix of man, mix of zone. So most likely just a good play call from the offensive side of the football. But really, I felt that this defensive backfield, you got to be excited about it. Bojack continues to make plays. It's just awesome, right? We're a very good pass cover. If we had a defensive line, right? We had Khalil Mack. If we had Akeem Hicks, this defense would be great. I firmly believe that. This could be one of the hot takes, but this defense is a great defense if you had the defensive line that you had last year. Plain simple. I think that the defensive backfield is playing great. Your linebackers are playing great from a coverage perspective. It's good. It's awesome to see. It's great to see after a defensive backfield that was the worst last year. But let's go into my final takeaway because we've gone through the offense and we have gone through the defense. So my last takeaway is actually about the special teams because I have to break down the special teams. And normally I have it in its own separate section, but this to me warranted its own separate little takeaway. My last takeaway, my final takeaway is the Bears are serious about a lot of the things that they say in press conference. Like I said, a lot of coach speak out there. Still doesn't say everything that they say is truthful, but they said, we're going to evaluate our special teams. I didn't feel like we had the cojones to say, you want Bayless? You're out. What did we do? We said, Bayless, you're out. And also, we didn't just say Bayless. We said, old cement shoes, Ebner. We said, Ebner, you can't be returning kicks anymore because you got cement shoes, right? And they said, Khalil Herbert, you're the better player, but we still want someone like that because we want you to bring it back. Khalil Herbert was the kickoff returner. Pettis was the punt returner. Pettis still bobbled. So somebody please hold on to it. But Pettis did make up for it and made a couple good plays. So is he going to continue to be the punt returner? We'll see. I think that they wanted to just send a message to Balis and be like, listen, Balis, this is how you're supposed to be able to get on the field. Because Balis did not get a touch today. Balis, but I don't see Balis out here. He didn't get a target, didn't get a carry. So you didn't touch the football. You need to field the punts. So hopefully we'll see next week. Because next week they could say, all right, we gave you your lashes on the wrist type of thing. And now you go, right? We said bad move, smack you around a little bit, and then now hopefully he can come back. But if not, they're serious about it. You messed up. So I'm curious to see what they end up doing. Well, let's kind of move. Let's see if there's anything else. I'm just kind of going through some of these pieces, but really overall, like we said, great team win for the Chicago Bears team. Let's see. Actually, Gordon, no tackles today, which was very interesting. I'm looking at the stats right now. Al-Qadim Muhammad, no tackles. Travis Gibson, no tackles. So very interesting, but both have passes defended. Looking through just any other key takeaways. But like I said, good. Darnell Mooney made a couple good catches. You want to see the passing game a little bit better, but what I'm interested to see is, does this continue forward? Does this offensive system continue? Because Justin Fields as a running back is something not a lot of people will like. It's very similar to what the Baltimore Ravens are doing. Not a lot of people do stuff like that. And seeing this work, seeing this in action, it could be something that you want to kind of stick with because it worked now and it can hopefully work in the future. Guys, thank you so much. Bears 33-14 with a shock in the world on Monday Night Football. And I don't think that the Bears play on any more primetime games anymore. So I'm excited that they're not doing that. But guys, thank you again. Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you are watching: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, also Facebook. Guys, I'll still be laying low a little bit more from the social media side, but expect us to do a preview on, I believe, Thursday. We'll keep you in the loop. Just look out for it. But guys, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we're out.
Yeah.